December 7, 1941. Pearl Harbor. As smoke billowed from burning battleships and the screams of wounded sailors pierced the Hawaiian morning air, American military observers witnessed something that would haunt their nightmares for months to come. Sleek silver aircraft with red rising sun emblems carved through the sky with an elegance and precision that defied everything they thought they knew about Japanese engineering. These weren't the crude, copied machines that Western intelligence had predicted. These were sophisticated predators, moving with deadly grace at speeds that seemed impossible. In those terrifying moments above Pearl Harbor, America's perception of Japanese aviation technology didn't just change, it shattered completely. The aircraft responsible for this devastating wake-up call was the Mitsubishi A6M-Zero, and the story of how America underestimated, then feared, and ultimately came to respect this legendary fighter represents one of the most dramatic reversals in aviation history. What you're about to discover will challenge everything you thought you knew about the Pacific War's opening chapter. Before Pearl Harbor, American military intelligence possessed an almost comical misunderstanding of Japanese aviation capabilities. Classified reports from the late 1930s described Japanese aircraft as inferior copies of Western designs built with primitive manufacturing techniques by a nation that lacked the industrial sophistication for modern warfare. High-ranking U.S. Navy officials confidently declared that Japanese pilots suffered from poor eyesight due to their racial characteristics, making them unsuitable for precision flying. Army Air Force's commanders dismissed reports of advanced Japanese fighters as exaggerated propaganda, believing that any nation lacking America's industrial might couldn't possibly produce world-class military aircraft. This dangerous arrogance stemmed from deeply rooted cultural prejudices and a fundamental misunderstanding of Japan's rapid technological advancement during the 1930s. American observers had witnessed Japan's industrial transformation but failed to grasp its military applications. When Captain Claire Chennault warned Washington about advanced Japanese fighters he'd encountered in China, his reports were largely ignored or dismissed as the fantasies of a maverick pilot. The few American pilots who had encountered Zeros over China returned with tales that seemed impossible to their superiors. Stories of Japanese fighters that could outclimb, outmaneuver, and outfight anything in the American arsenal were met with skepticism and often outright disbelief. Military planners convinced themselves that American industrial superiority guaranteed aerial dominance. This catastrophic underestimation would prove deadly when war finally came. The shock of Pearl Harbor wasn't just about the surprise attack, it was about confronting the terrifying reality that America had completely misjudged its opponent's capabilities. The Zero's performance that day forced an immediate and painful reassessment of everything American aviation experts thought they knew about their Pacific adversary. The Zero's technical specifications read like something from a designer's wildest dreams rather than wartime reality. With a maximum speed of 332 miles per hour, a service ceiling of 32,000 feet, and an unprecedented range of 1,200 miles, this fighter could fly farther and higher than anything in the American inventory. But these numbers only scratch the surface of its revolutionary design philosophy. Chief designer Jiro Horikoshi had achieved the impossible through radical weight reduction and aerodynamic perfection. Every component was meticulously crafted to shed unnecessary mass while maintaining structural integrity. The aircraft's aluminum construction utilized advanced Japanese metallurgy techniques that American engineers initially couldn't comprehend or replicate. The Zero's remarkable maneuverability stemmed from its incredibly low wing loading, just 23.5 pounds per square foot compared to the American F-4F, Wildcat's 35.8 pounds. This gave Zero pilots an enormous advantage in dogfights, allowing them to execute impossibly tight turns that could literally cause American fighters to stall while trying to follow. Perhaps most shocking to American analysts was the Zero's combat radius. While American fighters of 1941 were primarily designed for point defense, the Zero could escort bombers on missions exceeding 600 miles from their bases. This capability fundamentally challenged American strategic thinking about Pacific warfare, where vast ocean distances had been considered natural defensive barriers. The aircraft's Nakajima NK-1C Sakai engine represented another technological surprise. This radial power plant delivered exceptional fuel efficiency while maintaining reliability that surpassed many American engines of the period. Combined with the Zero's lightweight structure, this created an aircraft that could loiter over combat zones for hours, while American fighters were forced to return to base for refueling. American intelligence officers studying captured Zero components discovered manufacturing techniques they hadn't seen before. The use of flush riveting, advanced aluminum alloys, and precision-machined parts revealed an industrial capability that contradicted every pre-war assessment. The Zero wasn't just a good fighter. It represented a complete philosophical approach to aircraft design that America had never encountered, forcing immediate and fundamental changes to American fighter development programs. The Zero's combat debut over Pearl Harbor was merely the opening act of a months-long demonstration of aerial superiority that left American forces reeling across the Pacific. In the Philippines, Dutch East Indies, and throughout Southeast Asia, American pilots found themselves facing an opponent that seemed to violate the laws of aerial combat. Lieutenant Edward "Butch" O'Hare, later to become America's first naval ace, described his initial encounter with Zeros as fighting ghosts. The Japanese fighters appeared to materialize from nowhere, strike with devastating precision, then vanish before American pilots could respond effectively. Their ability to climb rapidly to altitude, then dive with lethal accuracy, made traditional American fighter tactics obsolete overnight. The psychological impact on American air crews was devastating. Pilots who had trained with confidence in their F-4F Wildcats and P-40 Warhawks suddenly found themselves in machines that felt clumsy and inadequate. Combat reports from early 1942 reveal a force grappling with the terrifying reality that their equipment and tactics were fundamentally outmatched. Zero pilots, many veterans of years of combat over China, demonstrated flying skills that seemed supernatural to their opponents. Their ability to execute complex aerobatic maneuvers in the middle of deadly combat, combined with their aircraft's superior performance, created an aura of invincibility that American forces struggled to overcome psychologically. The statistics from early Pacific engagements tell a sobering story. In the first 6 months of the Pacific War, Zeros achieved kill ratios that sometimes exceeded 10-to-1 against American fighters. Entire squadrons of American aircraft were decimated in encounters where Zero pilots seemed to dance through the sky while their opponents struggled simply to survive. American commanders faced a brutal truth. Their pilots were not just outgunned, but fundamentally outclassed. Emergency training programs were hastily implemented to teach new tactics specifically designed to counter the Zero's advantages. The realization that American aviation superiority was a dangerous myth forced immediate changes in aircraft procurement, pilot training, and combat doctrine that would reshape the entire American approach to air warfare in the Pacific theater. The Zero's dominance created something far more dangerous than tactical disadvantage. It spawned a psychological phenomenon that military historians now call Zero mystique. American air crews developed an almost supernatural fear of the Japanese fighter that went beyond rational tactical assessment and entered the realm of aviation mythology. Veteran pilots reported that the mere sight of a Zero's distinctive silhouette could trigger panic responses in previously confident aviators. The aircraft's elliptical wings and streamlined fuselage became symbols of death that haunted American bomber crews crossing the Pacific. Intelligence briefings describing Zero capabilities were so overwhelming that some pilots requested transfers rather than face them in combat. This psychological warfare extended beyond individual encounters to affect entire strategic decisions. American bomber missions were repeatedly canceled or modified based on reports of Zero presence, giving the Japanese fighter an influence that exceeded its actual numbers. The aircraft had become a force multiplier through fear alone, with single Zero sightings capable of disrupting entire air operations. American propaganda faced a delicate balance between warning air crews about Zero capabilities and maintaining morale. Training films attempted to demystify the aircraft while acknowledging its superior performance, but the reality remained stark. American pilots were entering combat against an opponent that had achieved aerial superiority through superior engineering and tactics. The mythology surrounding Zero pilots was equally powerful. Stories circulated of Japanese aviators who could execute impossible maneuvers, who possessed almost psychic awareness in combat, and who approached death with a fearlessness that seemed beyond human understanding. These tales, while often exaggerated, reflected the genuine respect and fear that Zero pilots had earned through their demonstrated combat effectiveness. Perhaps most damaging was the impact on American industrial confidence. For decades, American military leaders had assumed that superior industrial capacity guaranteed superior weapons. The Zero's dominance challenged this fundamental belief, forcing a painful reassessment of American technological assumptions. The aircraft had achieved something no foreign weapon had done since the War of 1812. It had made Americans genuinely fear their military inferiority. This psychological impact would prove as important as any tactical advantage, shaping American strategic decisions and resource allocation for the remainder of the Pacific conflict. The Zero's influence on American aviation extended far beyond its wartime service, fundamentally transforming how the United States approached fighter design, pilot training, and strategic thinking about air superiority. The painful lessons learned from early encounters with this remarkable aircraft reshaped American military aviation for generations. Captured Zeros became some of the most intensively studied aircraft in aviation history. American engineers dissected every component, analyzed every design decision, and absorbed the philosophical approaches that had made the Zero so formidable. These studies directly influenced the development of later American fighters, incorporating lessons about weight reduction, range optimization, and maneuverability that became hallmarks of post-war design. The psychological transformation was equally profound. American pilots who survived encounters with Zeros developed a grudging respect for their opponents that replaced earlier racist assumptions about Japanese capabilities. This respect extended to Japanese engineering prowess, forcing a complete reassessment of America's technological competitors that would prove crucial during the post-war industrial competition. Military historians now recognize the Zero as a watershed moment in American strategic thinking. Its dominance demonstrated that technological superiority couldn't be assumed based on industrial capacity alone. It required continuous innovation, cultural understanding of opponents, and respect for foreign engineering capabilities. These lessons would prove invaluable during the Cold War's technological competitions. Today's aviation enthusiasts regard the Zero as one of history's most influential fighter designs. Its combination of range, maneuverability, and engineering elegance established principles that continue influencing modern aircraft development. The painful respect it earned from American forces represents one of aviation history's most dramatic reversals of technological assumptions. The Zero's legacy transcends its wartime service to represent a broader lesson about the dangers of underestimating opponents. Its story serves as a permanent reminder that excellence in engineering and military capability can emerge from unexpected sources, challenging established powers to continuously evolve or face obsolescence. In the end, the Mitsubishi Zero forced America to confront uncomfortable truths about its own limitations while demonstrating the heights that human ingenuity could achieve under pressure. That transformation, from dismissive arrogance to hard-earned respect, represents one of the most important lessons of the Pacific War.